Today we're pleased to welcome two very talented authors to the studio. This is a brother and sister team who've written wonderful books, How to Teach Hindi to Youngsters. Of course, they are youngsters themselves. Welcome to the studio, Riya and Archit. Riya, you are just 11 years old, and your brother is 14. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yes, you did.
And the two of you decided to write books to help teach other kids like yourselves Hindi. Now, what I love about this is that parents, especially the ones that are raising their kids here, have a really hard time trying to teach Hindi. And it's even made harder by the fact that there are no really good books around. Some of the ones that you get from India are all in Hindi, which of course means that if you don't know how to read Hindi, you're in a little bit of trouble. So these two recognized the opportunity and said, it's time to write a book. Now that's what's fascinating to me, is that it was your idea, Riya, to start doing this, right? How did you suddenly decide, you know what, I need to write a book? I'm only 10 years old, but I need to write a book about Hindi.
Well, at first I didn't really know I was going to write a book. I was wanting to learn Hindi. And my parents tried teaching me with the traditional ways with the books from India, and I got really bored. So I decided to just write like little stories on the computer, and it would help me. And I thought that maybe this would be a good book to help teach other people.
Tell me about this book and how you came up with the idea of this character called Amu the Am.
Well, I came up with the idea because I was hungry and my mom gave me mango. I was working on those little stories, and I decided that would be a really nice character. Amu is a mango, and I use him to learn about like the colors in Amu's friends. Each of his friends is a different color.
What about you, Archit? I mean, your character is Tara the star, right? Tara the sitara. Now tell me about this character and how you decided to help your sister out with this. This was her idea originally, right?
Yes. Mine was more of a supplemental thing, because after Amu the Am, you've pretty much gotten the basic Hindi down. This one has more longer, complex subjects, and the topics are the same. They're ordinary things that happen in life. So she's on track and tennis.
What I love about these books is that you've taken American themes and used them in your book. It's not like Indian themes where kids here would have a hard time relating to them. You've used everyday occurrences here that kids living here can relate to, and that's what makes these books very easy to read. At least even from my, older eyes, I'm looking at these and going, wow, this is really great. I wish I'd had something like this when I was younger. My favorite book out of the ones that you guys have written is this Hindi alphabet book. And what's great about it is it's pretty challenging. I mean, those of us who speak Hindi know that there's how many characters?
50.
There's 50 characters. There's not 26. And you've actually gone through and described all of them.
This book was mainly something that provides a basis, because it's great that you can say the word, but you also have to be able to read it. And this provides the substance of what each symbol means and how it's used, different words it's in. And it is challenging, because here we grow up with 26 letters, and each letter can be used differently. A has different ways it can be sounded. B has different ways. C, CH, SH, all these combinations. Well, each symbol in the Devanagari or Hindi alphabet is a sound, and what its meaning and what it sounds like never changes.
Hindi is a phonetic language, right? It's not as if we have to worry necessarily about spellings, because we're worried about how the sounds sound. And there's no concept necessarily of vowels the way that we have them here, right? A, E, I, O, and U. We have a different way of showing vowel sounds, and we use different ways of marking characters to show those sounds. Was it easy to try to communicate that in a book? That must have been very challenging to do.
It is a challenge, because, the vowel sounds, it's add-ons rather than individual letters, and if they're the beginning of the word, there are different rules. If they're end of the word, you have end of the word. If you have two different vowels, one after another. So it requires a lot of explanation, and there are a lot of different characters each. And then there's also like different variations in the letters, so that two things sound similar but are really different.
So did your parents help out with writing these books? I mean, was it sort of like, hey, you guys are onto something, and they were ready to help?
My parents are extremely supportive when we both started doing this, because they were the ones who knew the language, they had the mastery, they knew the script. So if we had any small difficulties, needing a word or a letter or symbol, they would help us out.
Now you started doing these on your home computer. I'm guessing that was the first place to start. What about the drawings that are in here? Were they ones that you worked on yourself with your parents, or you just kind of used the computer to put them together?
I used a computer, and I used like AutoShapes and Microsoft.
I'm looking at the two of you, and I realize there's often these areas which are untapped. We don't think about them as being holes and voids, and sometimes you need to be a kid to realize where those holes exist, and you guys found one. It's tough when you don't necessarily speak the language at home and you don't necessarily are going to school and learning the language there. So this is actually quite terrific. I'm really, really proud that you guys, came up with this idea and have done something with it. So Archit, I have a question for you. I mean, this is your sister maybe came up with these ideas from her experience in learning Hindi, but you're older. What was your experience learning Hindi?
Well, my experience is the same. It starts off typical like many other Indian children in America, where their parents are trying to teach it to them. They're trying to force it onto them. They're showing them all these Indian books. They're trying to get all the books from India, trying to get their relatives to put pressure on them to speak Hindi. And it's generally ineffective because it's more of a forced matter, and it's not even enjoyable. It's more of just a burden. Oh, I have to learn it. So what happened with me was, though, in 4th grade, I had friends who were foreign nationalities. I had a friend who was Persian, I had a Korean friend, and we had some Jewish friends who knew Hebrew. And so they were showing off their languages, their alphabets, their ability to write in their language. So I was kind of like, oh, wow, I wish I could learn my language better. So I went home and asked my mom and dad, like, how is this language written and read? And they showed me the things they showed me before, the different characters of Devanagari. And it still wasn't as helpful. So I tried to ask them what each letter represented, and eventually I pieced together a transliteration of the Devanagari script. And that's the basis of the books. I didn't really think of the books because I think I was more easy to teach. Because,
Your boy.
first child, I kind of didn't know that I'd be able to push my parents around so much.
Well, this is great. I mean, what I love is that this whole thing is truly a home production, but more so it's your production, the two of you. Looking at these covers, you've actually done these yourself using Photoshop. Talk to me about how you actually put these things together and what kinds of products you use, like you mentioned Microsoft.
Well, for the covers, my main application is Photoshop. I had a class on that, and I learned how to use that fairly well. So it's pretty easy for me just to insert the pictures and format the text and insert the symbols into it. So that's how we've made the covers. We used the template the publishers gave us so that we knew we were in the right boundaries, right inches, right centimeters, whatever the matter was.
I'm really, really impressed. Now tell me, if I were to take the system home and put myself through Hindi class, would I be able to read an actual Hindi novel? I mean, after I'm done with level 3, can I pick up a book and actually start reading it and be fairly comfortable? Where would I be? What level do you think this puts me at once I get through the last level here?
These 3 levels are pretty much to get you introduced to the Hindi language. So if you keep on practicing and going through them well enough, you should be able to read a Hindi novel, not with too much difficulty.
Folks, let me tell you a little bit about these books because it's quite comprehensive, the system that they've developed here. It's not just a series of books, it's an actual system. So we talked about the Hindi alphabet book, which of course is a beginner's guide, but they have stories which start at level 1. Amudi of course, would be level 1. But it goes much further than that. There's Hindi activity books that you can use and actually do clever little crossword puzzles and things like that to get familiar with the language. And you work your way up. So once you actually get to level 1, level 2, you end up with level 3. This is the final level of the book. And here you can see this is actually quite comprehensive, and really this is more for a mid-level or high-level reading. So if you start on the system, conceivably by the end of this, you could be a fairly good reader. Something that makes Hindi really hard is the fact that we have consonants and vowels that aren't in English, right? So I just heard you say Hindi, and Hindi itself is a little tough to pronounce, or some words might be really hard to pronounce, right? The chas and the tus and the dhas. How do you deal with that in the book? I mean, that's got to be hard, right, to convey?
The only real way to learn it is repetition and practice. Because even I'm not totally amazing at identifying which ta and da or ra you're supposed to use, but you have to keep on practicing, and You have to get immersed in the language. And once you get used to that, then eventually you'll be able to figure out the different T sounds, the different D sounds, the different R's.
So have you guys thought about maybe doing audiobooks where you actually take these and narrate them yourself so that young kids can listen to your voices and know how to pronounce these things?
We already have one already. We originally did it so that people could learn. It's kind of like a little trailer so that people can know what we're doing.
Me and my brother did it together. He said it in English and then I said it in Hindi.
With any language, there's always a cultural background to it. We learn Spanish, and I was learning Spanish in school, she's learning French. We have to learn the cultures of the different countries it comes from, because that directly influences the language and its vocabulary, and the tone the language is said in. So it's always important to know your culture before you learn the language.
Speaking of Indian culture, there's one more book here that's in this series which I thought is really important to mention. And this has to do with Indian fables. You know, there's so many things about being Indian that are hard to explain sometimes, and the things that we grow up with, the stories that we're told from our parents, our grandparents. Sometimes it's very hard to find something that's correlating in English to explain what we mean. You know, idioms, for example, you know, what we mean when we say something. So this book is actually written by your parents, Dinesh and Paridhi Verma, called Sanskar. And what's great about it is that, you know, they talk all of the stories that we have seen growing up in India, they're in here, and including things like, you know, Ganesh. Of course, many of my friends always ask me, what's up with the elephant god? You know, I don't get it. You know, what's the thing there? And so here's a book that actually takes you through it and explains it. And what's wonderful is at the end of each of these fables, it tells you the purpose. There's a moral. So this is another wonderful way of taking your kids who often don't understand. They just learn to accept because that's the way it is. It gives them an explanation for why those things exist in the first place. And it makes it much easier to have those conversations with other kids, other Indian kids, and especially with their friends who will have questions. It's you know, of course, you share any part of your Indian culture. Your friends and people in school always have questions. So where from here? What happens next? Are you guys looking at, you know, forming a career out of books? Do you want to grow up and be a book author? Or do you want to go to Bollywood and maybe make these into little movies? How do you want to do this? This could be a beginning of a whole lot of different things, right? You could create television shows and cartoons. Have you thought about that?
Well, first it was just a summer project, so I'm not really sure.
For me, I think the most important part is not about like actually getting the money from it or making it successfully famous. I just want people to be able to learn the Hindi from this, because it's more important that some people learn and enjoy it, and a lot of people know about it but don't really have a real clue about what's going on.
And I know that your parents are actively trying to get some of the school systems to adopt them and teaching Hindi to the kids here, including the Hindu Samaj and maybe even school systems in California. Tell me more about this website and what people who are interested in these books can do when they get there.
Well, yeah, it just provides a main background of our purpose, our intent, and how this came about. And if you have any questions, there's a feedback post where you can put any questions, comments, responses, thoughts, whatever you want.
I'm especially proud of the two of you, and thank you so much for coming in to the studio today to spend some time with me. Any other thoughts you want to share with kids out there your age about maybe getting out there and trying something on their own that they haven't thought about?
Well, I think that all kids should learn another language other than English. And thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us. And one last note I'd like to end on is that I think it's really important to work as a family. We worked as a family to create these books, and if you have your family behind you, you can achieve anything you want. You can learn another language or anything.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you both.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us.